The Koo family had always had a thin bloodline, 18 generations where there was only ever a single heir. My father adopted 3 girls and made it clear from the beginning that whichever one of them bore his grandchild would inherit the entire family fortune. People said that the child born from one of the 3 candidates he chose for me would be the true heir of the Koo family. Yet none of them had ever truly looked me in the eye. I had loved Chloe for years, but all I ever received from her were countless looks of contempt. I told myself she was simply cold by nature, that she treated all men the same. That illusion shattered the day I saw her leaning against the driver's son, Alex, speaking with absolute sincerity. I agreed to marry him only to repay the Koo family for raising me, she said softly. Once I give birth to the Koo heir, I'll divorce him and marry you. As long as Luis doesn't hurt you, I'm willing to give him a few million to live comfortably overseas. You're the only real husband in my heart. The day before the board meeting, my father asked who I had chosen. I remembered the way the 3 girls always avoided my gaze. Smiling faintly, I replied, I'm the Koo family heir. My marriage should bring the greatest benefit. Let's choose Laura from City A. My father frowned. Laura was paralyzed in a car accident 5 years ago. She's not only disabled, she's infertile too. Are you certain? My voice was calm but resolute. In our world, there's no such thing as true love. Since everything comes down to interests, I should choose the Moo family, the one that offers the most value. His expression darkened. That may be true. But out of the 3 girls I chose for you, you don't seem fond of any of them. My father had loved my mother deeply. She died from a sudden brain hemorrhage the year I was born, and he never remarried. He knew I wasn't passionate about love either, and he feared the Koo bloodline would end with me. On the advice of an old friend, he adopted 3 orphaned girls with no family background. He even prepared a will early on. No matter which one I married, she would share control of the company with me, helping suppress the other board members. I looked at him and said, Laura Moo may be paralyzed and infertile, but she can still retrieve eggs and have children through IVF. She's the sole heir of the Moo family. Instead of relying on orphans to support the Koo family, wouldn't it be smarter to ally with someone powerful? My father nodded slowly. If they couldn't win your heart, there's no reason for them to remain in the Koo family. If I had simply told him that Chloe didn't love me and I didn't want to force her, he would have summoned her immediately and demanded to know what right an adopted daughter had to refuse. I didn't want him to weaponize years of kindness to pressure her. I didn't want to trap her in a marriage she didn't want. And I didn't want a future filled with resentment. More than anything, after hearing what she said to Alex, my heart had gone completely cold. Letting her go peacefully was already the greatest kindness I could give. When I left the office, my father gave Chloe a sidelong glance. After politely seeing him off, she turned to me with a frown. What did you tattle about this time? Her eyes were filled with disgust and impatience, as if I had committed some unforgivable crime. Before I could answer, Zoe sneered. What else could it be? We said we're not chasing after him like pathetic simps. Monica added with open contempt, Seriously, young Master Koo, this isn't the damn feudal era. Just because you've got some money doesn't make you an emperor with everyone revolving around you. The 3 of them stood together like comrades, their words sharp and cutting. I couldn't understand it. None of you want to marry me, so why didn't you just tell my father? He had hoped I'd develop feelings and marry one of them, but he never meant to force it. If any of them had said a single no, he would have immediately set aside money and sent them abroad to live freely. The truth was simple. They couldn't let go of the Koo family's wealth. Monica, the most hot-tempered, clicked her tongue. Don't make it sound so easy. You know we're living under someone else's roof. We're basically the Koo family's pets. What right do we have to refuse? Chloe looked at me with a complicated expression. If you want to choose me, then choose me. I just hope you won't make things difficult for the other 2 in the future. Monica and Zoe were visibly moved by her words. Watching Chloe act self-sacrificing, I felt something cold and bitter settle in my chest. Before I could speak, Alex suddenly appeared. The moment he saw me, he flinched as if startled and instinctively hid behind Chloe. A grown man, yet he needed a woman to shield him. Chloe stepped forward immediately. He didn't do anything wrong. Just let him go today, okay? I looked at them in confusion and realized that the three women who were supposed to stand on my side were now shielding Alex, as if I were about to bully him. They prided themselves on being strong, independent women. They disliked my confidence and bluntness. Instead, they favored Alex, who was inferior to me in every way. 5 years earlier, when Alex first came to the Koo residence, he gave me a watch. I returned the gesture with a suit worth 100,000 yuan. But as soon as I put on the watch, Chloe snatched it off my wrist. Even his mother's heirloom, you want to take that too, she snapped. I looked at Alex, confused, hoping he would explain that he had given it to me willingly. Instead, he suddenly dropped to his knees, looking pitiful. Young master didn't take it from me. I gave it to him. He's been very kind to me. He even bought me a whole suit. I truly don't feel wronged. He kowtowed repeatedly. The scene stirred something in the three women, reminding them of their own uncertain positions in the Koo household. They turned on me indignantly. So what if you're the eldest young master? That doesn't mean you can force someone to hand over their mother's keepsake. The watch may not be expensive, but its meaning is worth more than a 10,000 yuan suit. Give it back to Alex right now. You're always so domineering, doing whatever pleases you without thinking about others. My face darkened. I assumed it was a misunderstanding I could explain later. Swallowing my anger, I handed the watch back to Alex. He failed to catch it properly. It fell to the floor and shattered. He looked at me wide-eyed and shouted, "If young master would rather destroy it than return it, why pretend?" Chloe had always despised seeing the weak bullied. She said coldly, "Apologize to Alex now, or I'll call off the engagement." At that time, I had already confessed my feelings to Chloe and told her I would marry no one but her. She used that to threaten me. I was still young then. I didn't dare risk losing the woman I loved. So with red eyes, I lowered my head and apologized to Alex, without offering a single word in my own defense. That apology lasted 5 full years. From then on, whenever Alex saw me, he reacted like a mouse spotting a cat, either dropping to his knees without warning or breaking down in tears. But I hadn't done a single thing to him. I looked at Chloe coldly. "If you're really that afraid I'll bully Alex, why don't you just tie him to your belt and carry him around all day?" It was obvious I was being sarcastic, yet Chloe frowned and shot back, "Are you threatening me? What exactly are you planning to do to Alex?" Monica clapped her hands and pointed straight at me. "Don't tell me you're angry because we gave Star Ocean Abyss to Alex, and now you're using that as an excuse to pick on him." Zoe's gaze was icy. "You already have everything. Alex has never even had a proper birthday party. It's just a Star Ocean Abyss. Do you really have to make such a big deal out of it?" My eyes sharpened at the mention of it. Star Ocean Abyss. It was an underground aquarium that had been under construction since the day I was born. On the southeast side, there was a rare piece of imperial jade. Beneath the shimmering seawater, it refracted light like an entire galaxy. It had been scheduled for completion 6 months ago, and my father had handed the final stage of the project to Chloe, planning for her to present Star Ocean Abyss to me at my birthday banquet a month later. But now, the gift that was meant for me had been handed to Alex. I looked at Chloe. She had been in charge of the project. Without her approval, no one could have accessed the unopened aquarium. Under my stare, she grew visibly uncomfortable, then turned her head away in irritation. Alex grew up in the countryside. He was always too busy working to ever really look at the stars. I just wanted to fulfill a small wish of his. Besides, the aquarium still legally belongs to you, doesn't it? Stop being so unreasonable. Fine. At your birthday banquet next month, I'll publicly announce our engagement. Will that make you happy? Watching Chloe speak as if she were doing me a favor, I almost wondered if I was the one who had been adopted. But no one else in the room seemed to think anything was wrong. Instead, they pitied Chloe. Why sacrifice so much for him? Luis is arrogant, overbearing, and cruel. You'd be better off becoming a nun than marrying him. He's probably so happy right now he can't think straight, finally getting what he's always wanted. Chloe, please don't ruin your life for me. If it helps, I'll kneel and kowtow to young Master Koo, be his servant, do anything. My throat felt dry. In the end, I only managed to say one sentence. I will not marry you. Chloe lifted her brows, clearly surprised and suspicious. Monica and Zoe exchanged uneasy glances, as though afraid I might suddenly declare I wanted to marry one of them instead. Being rejected like this by the three women who had grown up with me, I knew that if I didn't leave soon, I might actually do something I would regret. I turned to walk away, but Alex grabbed my wrist. His eyes were red. Once again, he dropped to his knees, his face full of humiliation. Please don't make things difficult for Chloe. All three of them were adopted into the Koo family. Their status has always been lower. If you're angry that they gave me Star Ocean Abyss and you're planning to complain to Uncle Koo, I'm willing to apologize properly. He began slamming his forehead against the floor, bang, 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 until the skin turned red and then split, blood seeping out. Chloe's heart seemed to ache as she hurried to pull him up. She turned to glare at me. You say you won't marry me, then don't pick me. Why use reverse psychology just to bully Alex? Isn't this your way of getting back at him and forcing him out of the Koo family? I stared at her coldly. I don't know what you're talking about. But you can relax. I will never choose you as my wife. I thought that would settle everything. But unexpectedly, Chloe grabbed my arm. If not me, then who? Zoe. Monica. Monica wants to study art abroad. Zoe craves freedom. Isn't hurting me enough for you? Do you want to ruin their lives too? She took a deep breath. If you promise you won't make things hard for Alex again, I'll marry you. Just stop this, okay? Her eyes were filled with exhaustion, as if I had been tormenting her for years. I looked at her steadily. Everything will happen exactly the way you want. She was afraid I would bully Alex. She didn't want to marry me either. Once I married Laura, all her concerns would disappear. After that, I didn't go to see Chloe again. It wasn't until my birthday banquet that she finally appeared, her expression cold. Zoe and Monica followed behind her, their faces equally grim. I frowned at my assistant. I had made it crystal clear that today's engagement announcement had nothing to do with them. There had been no need to invite them at all. But my assistant frantically shook his head, silently insisting they had come on their own and he had no idea. I let out a resigned sigh and decided to act as if I hadn't seen them. The guests below were far more enthusiastic than I was, greeting the three of them one after another. Miss Chloe, you're truly a rising star. That project you closed last month must have brought in at least $1 million. No wonder young Master Koo only has eyes for you. It was I who had negotiated that deal. Chloe had only signed the final papers. Monica may have a fiery temper, but she has a strong sense of justice. Young Master Koo would never suffer marrying you. I scoffed inwardly. Monica had bullied me more than anyone. In her eyes, I was pure evil. She probably wished she could burn me alive. Miss Zoe is also incredibly beautiful. Young Master Koo wouldn't go wrong choosing you either. Please take good care of him in the future. At my birthday banquet, the three of them behaved like hosts, enjoying the spotlight as if it belonged to them. I frowned, ready to end this farce. But suddenly, all three lowered their heads and pulled out their phones. Before I could react, Monica's face turned pale. She rushed toward me and slapped me across the face. My head rang from the blow, and I nearly fell. The entire room went silent. The guests quickly stepped back, afraid to get involved. Chloe clenched her fists and restrained Monica, who still looked ready to strike me again. Then she turned toward me, fury blazing in her eyes. We already came here like items displayed on a shelf for you to choose from. What else do you want? Do you have to drive Alex to his death too? I was completely confused. Seeing that, Zoe's contempt only deepened. You waited until none of us were around and dared to have Alex kidnapped. I'm telling you right now, it won't work. The moment she said that, I understood. Alex had pulled another stunt. Everyone at the banquet was either my father's friend or one of our business partners. Yet after I was slapped in front of them, not a single person stepped forward. My heart turned cold. They must have already decided that the Koo family fortune would not fall into my hands. That was why none of them dared to offend those three women. Pressing a hand against my burning cheek, I fixed Monica with an icy stare. Apologize. Monica looked at my reddened eyes and sneered. Alex was almost beaten to death, and you're upset over just one slap? I'm fine. Just then, Alex limped into the room. His clothes were torn, his face bruised and swollen, covered in cuts. One glance at him and anyone would think something horrific had happened. Without hesitation, Chloe took off her coat and draped it over his shoulders. Then she looked at me with open disgust. You're as calculating as ever. I will never marry a man like you. Zoe, who was usually quiet, stepped in front of Alex, her face cold. Your family's bloodline is weak, so you brought us back just to act as breeders, to give birth and continue the coup name. We already accepted that fate. But you're still not satisfied. If that's how it is, then there's no need to pretend everything is peaceful anymore. She turned and walked away without sparing even a glance for the coup family's dignity. Before leaving, Chloe threw one last arrogant sentence over her shoulder. I'll marry you. But after the child is born, you'll be nothing more than decoration. If you want my child to protect the coup family's legacy, you'd better behave. I let out a laugh. Had they forgotten? Without me, the coup family would never have adopted them. Just as the three of them were about to leave, someone finally tried to stop them. But I shouted, my face cold with anger, let them go. Alex glanced at me from the corner of his eye, smug and triumphant, as if he had just won everything. I stood there in silence until my assistant hurried over, panic written all over his face. What do we do now? All three of them left. Who are you going to choose? The guests began whispering among themselves. The coup family's bloodline is thin. Sooner or later, he'll have to marry and have children to continue the inheritance. If even the three women who grew up with him won't take him, who else will? I almost laughed. There are millions of women in this world. Who said I have to marry one of those three? I raised my wine glass with a smile. Ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, today is not only my birthday, it is also my engagement party. The giant projector screen lit up with the image of a cold yet breathtakingly beautiful face. A wave of shocked gasps spread through the room. Isn't that Laura Moo from the Moo family in City A? My father had just finished signing a deal worth over $100 million. He walked in with a bright smile. That's right. As my son's bride, only the most outstanding woman is worthy of him. As for those three girls, I adopted them only because they were pitiful orphans with no parents. The idea of choosing one of them to marry my son? Absurd. Even with my father speaking so bluntly, the guests still looked doubtful. Several older men, longtime friends of his, tried to persuade him. Laura from City A is indeed capable, but that accident years ago. Everyone knew what they meant. Laura was paralyzed. She was infertile. If your son marries her, she won't even be able to have children. Who will inherit the coup fortune in the future? We're not saying the children of those other three could definitely carry the coup legacy, but at least choose someone who can give birth. They politely called her a noble heiress. In harsher terms, she was a disabled woman. Everyone knew that one day her wealth would pass to someone else. So why couldn't that someone be me? From the moment Chloe said what she did, I understood something clearly. Even as the coup family's only heir, no one truly believed the fortune would end up in my hands. So I decided, why not choose a woman who was powerful and unable to take the coup family away from me? Chloe was still comforting Alex when her phone lit up. She glanced at the message, and her expression immediately darkened. Come back now. Luis just announced his fiancée. You'll regret it if you don't. Monica and Zoe received similar messages from mutual friends. Chloe instinctively moved to turn off her phone, wanting to ignore it. But one question lingered in her mind. Why would she regret it? Could it be? Luis chose Monica. Or Zoe. She stared at the other two for a long moment before typing, "Who did Luis choose?" When the reply came with a photo attached, Chloe's pupils shrank. Her face drained of color. At the same time, Monica and Zoe gasped. No way. Luis picked that infertile, paralyzed cripple? That's impossible. Alex, still leaning weakly against Chloe's shoulder, had a flicker of satisfaction in his eyes. But he spoke with false concern. Maybe young master is just angry. You all left his birthday banquet because of me. He must have been upset. Why don't you go back? I'll be fine alone." Tears shimmered in his eyes as he said it. The three women softened immediately. Monica, as blunt as ever, said, "It's not like Luis hasn't pulled tricks before. I want to see if he really goes through with marrying that cripple. Just wait. He'll be the one begging us to marry him." Chloe felt slightly reassured. That's right. Luis had pursued her for years. No matter how many times she rejected him, he never gave up. Missing one birthday party wouldn't suddenly make him turn around and marry a woman who couldn't even have children. Alex's gaze remained fixed on Chloe. Seeing her stay silent, a trace of jealousy flashed in his eyes. He said pitifully, "I must be the one standing in young master's way. Even if he had me beaten and crippled, I still shouldn't have barged into his party and ruined it. What if he tells Uncle Koo and cuts off your living expenses? I don't want to drag you down." The three women's expressions darkened immediately. What they hated most was being reminded that they were living under someone else's roof. Monica said coldly, "I have 2 working hands and feet. Even without the allowance, I can survive." Chloe gently stroked Alex's hand. "Don't worry. Luis can't manage such a large empire on his own. He can't even produce an heir. Sooner or later, he'll have to beg the 3 of us to return and help him run the company. Don't talk about dragging us down. Luis is the one at fault. If he hadn't harbored such malicious intentions toward you, today wouldn't have turned into such a disaster for him. They thought I had only lost face today. They never considered the long-term consequences." Restless, Chloe finally picked up her phone and sent me a message. "You went too far today. There's no need to throw a tantrum and marry a cripple who can't have children. As long as you apologize to Alex, I'll marry you." In her mind, she imagined the joy on my face when I read it. But the moment she saw the red exclamation mark, her smile froze. I hadn't just deleted her. I had blocked her. During the second half of the birthday banquet, dozens of helicopters flew overhead. Millions worth of pink roses rained down from the sky. Amid the sea of flowers, the elegant, cold-faced Laura was gently wheeled down from one of the helicopters. Then she stepped onto the red carpet and began walking toward me, her eyes filled with warmth. My father's eyes widened in shock. How is she here?" The other guests were just as stunned. Even though everyone still saw Laura as nothing more than a paralyzed and infertile woman, no one could deny her identity, the only heiress of the Mu family in City A. A true socialite. The genuine daughter of an old, noble house. If the Mu family hadn't insisted on marrying into a family of equal standing, Laura would have been married countless times over by now. The Mu family was old money, deeply rooted, powerful, and prestigious. Compared to them, the Koo family had only risen in the past few decades. We had wealth, yes, but not heritage. In everyone's eyes, if I married Laura, I would only be a figurehead. No one believed the Mu family would truly value this engagement. As the crowd whispered among themselves, Laura smiled faintly and said, "How could the leading lady miss her own engagement party? I'm not too late, am I?" She held out a bouquet of Bulgarian roses that had been air-shipped in and offered them to me. She remained standing there, bouquet extended, until I accepted them. I didn't leave her hanging. I smiled and took the flowers. "You came at just the right time." The cold frost that had long lingered between her brows melted instantly. For the first time, she showed warmth toward everyone present. The intimate exchange stunned the crowd. Before her accident, Laura had been known as an ice beauty. After the accident, she became even more distant, so distant that she once threw her own father out of the house without hesitation. When I reached out and held her right hand, Chloe suddenly appeared at the entrance again, her face cold. Her return stirred the guests once more. Is Chloe having second thoughts? She probably just lost her temper earlier and came back after calming down. She and young Master Koo practically grew up together. If she softens even a little, he'll probably call off the engagement with the Mu family right away. Before I could speak, Laura's fingers tightened around mine. Her face remained calm, but there was a storm hidden in her eyes. The moment Chloe met Laura's gaze, she sensed the danger. Still, she steadied herself and said, "Please forgive him. Young Master Koo has always been willful. If he said anything that caused a misunderstanding, I hope you won't take it to heart." As she spoke, she reached toward me, silently signaling for me to stop making a scene. Laura's expression turned cold instantly. "Who are you?" For years, Chloe had represented the Koo family at public events. As someone active in business circles, there was no way Laura didn't recognize her. Everyone could tell, Laura was deliberately putting her in her place. Chloe opened her mouth, clearly intending to say she was my fiancée. But when her eyes fell on our clasped hands, she froze. She remembered. She was only the adopted daughter of the Koo family. Nothing more. Laura's voice turned mocking. "If you're speaking to me as an adopted daughter of the Koo family, I'm afraid you're not qualified." Chloe's face went pale. Still, she stubbornly turned to me. "Luis, are you really going to throw away your marriage just because you're angry?" Her fists were clenched so tightly her knuckles had turned white. After so many years by her side, how could I not see that she was panicking? But what was she panicking about? Was it because I was marrying Laura? Or because she feared the Koo family's fortune was slipping out of reach? I gave her a faint smile. "Laura and I love each other. What anger are you talking about? The engagement has been decided for a long time. Are you here to crash the wedding?" I deliberately used the words, "crash the wedding." Chloe instantly shot back, "Why would I crash the wedding? Her face flushed red with anger. She gritted her teeth. "I just can't stand by while you toy with the Moo family's reputation. If you regret this later, the entire Koo family will suffer." I couldn't help but laugh. "You don't need to worry about that. After all, your surname is Lee." When the three girls were adopted, Chloe Lee had insisted on keeping her own surname. She refused to take ours. My father hadn't forced them, so he let it be. Only then did Chloe truly look at me. The warmth that once filled my eyes was gone, replaced by icy indifference, as if I wished nothing more than to sever all ties with her. Seeing how firmly I had drawn the line, Laura's heart seemed to warm. She tightened her hold on my hand again, as though afraid I might disappear. Chloe swallowed, her throat dry. After hesitating, she asked once more, "You're really going to marry Laura?" "Chloe, who gave you the right to keep pestering Luis?" My father's authoritative voice rang out behind her. He strode forward and stood beside me, his sharp gaze fixed on Chloe. Her back curved slightly. She no longer had the courage to speak. "I'm sorry." In front of my father, she always felt inferior. Because she had been adopted. Taken in. Given charity. I looked at the expression I knew so well. But unlike before, I didn't step forward to comfort her. In the past, I would have patiently reassured her again and again, that my father was strict because he valued her, that in the Koo family she was never beneath anyone, that one day she might even control more shares than I did, that her child would inherit everything. But all the luxury, protection, and status my father and I gave her still couldn't compare to a single vague sentence from Alex. All it took was Alex saying pitifully, "We're both outsiders here, Chloe. I know how hard it's been for you," and she would immediately turn resentful toward the Koo family. Her eyes moved between Laura and me. Finally, she forced a tight smile and turned to my father. "I was being inconsiderate. Today is Luis's birthday, and his engagement party. I haven't even offered my congratulations." She raised her glass and looked at me expectantly. Before I could respond, Laura stepped forward and blocked the toast. "Luis doesn't like drinking. I'll drink this for him." She lifted the glass and drained it in one go. A faint blush spread across her beautiful face. Chloe's face turned even paler at Laura's casual claim over me. Suddenly, she seemed to remember all the times I had shielded her at the drinking table. Regret, late and overwhelming, surged through her. Her eyes reddened. She forced a bitter smile, took 2 steps back, and turned away. After the banquet ended, Laura tilted her head and looked at me. "Is my fiancé not taking me home tonight?" I blinked. "What?" She stared at me for a long moment before speaking again, her voice slightly downcast. "You don't want to take me home? I know I'm just a cripple. It's normal if you find me repulsive." What she was saying completely contradicted the Laura I had heard about. Still, I instinctively tried to reassure her. No, I don't mind. It's my fault. You came all the way from City A. I should have arranged your accommodation. Her assistant rolled her eyes and turned away, clearly exasperated by her boss's act. Laura tugged gently at my sleeve, her voice soft and hopeful. You really don't mind that I'm disabled? My gaze dropped to her legs. I nodded. Then, without meaning to, my eyes drifted upward. So pale. What are you looking at? My face flushed instantly. I quickly looked away. I didn't mean to. It doesn't matter to me either way. We can always do IVF. Laura squeezed my hand gently. But why do IVF? I stammered, not knowing how to respond. Laura let out a soft sigh. Having a baby is something worth experiencing personally. My eyes widened as I stared at her, stunned. Was she saying she could? Laura gripped the armrests of her wheelchair and slowly stood up. Even on her feet, she only reached my chest. Carefully, she stepped forward and leaned into my arms. I only injured my legs in the accident. I've almost fully recovered over the past 2 years. I just use the wheelchair because I don't feel like walking. As for everything else, it's all rumors. I felt a flicker of embarrassment. At the same time, I understood something. When she said she didn't feel like walking, that was merely an excuse. Being labeled as crippled made people lower their guard. A chill ran down my spine. If Laura had intentions toward the Koo family, then wasn't I walking straight into her trap? No one could deny how dangerous her methods were. As cold sweat formed on my back, Laura tilted her head innocently. Are you cold? If you are, let's go home. I nodded stiffly, my thoughts in chaos. Laura smiled sweetly and slipped a crystal bead bracelet onto my wrist. The moment I saw it, something clicked in my mind. You were the one who saved me back then? I asked instinctively. When I was 17, I had been kidnapped by one of my father's enemies. There was another girl abducted with me. My legs had been broken. I couldn't run. She was the one who hid me inside an abandoned paint drum. Later, Chloe was the one who found me. From that day on, I felt grateful to her. That gratitude slowly turned into affection. But thinking about it now, Chloe hadn't actually saved me. She had only opened the lid of the drum. The police and my father had already arrived. Yet in my eyes at the time, it had been only her. Laura tapped her fingers lightly, clearly a little annoyed. Yes. You promised you would remember me forever. Then the next month, your whole family disappeared from City A. You didn't even leave me a contact number. My father was terrified I'd be kidnapped again, so he moved us out of the city entirely. I lowered my head, guilt washing over me. Laura leaned closer and nestled into my chest. Forget it. It wasn't your fault. It's Chloe's fault. She's just too calculating. I smiled faintly and hummed in agreement, completely unaware that Chloe was standing hidden in a corner, watching everything. Her face was pale as paper. The sight of Laura in my arms, the way we looked at each other and smiled, it drove her nearly mad with jealousy. Whether she admitted it or not, Chloe had feelings for me. She enjoyed my affection, yet she hated being labeled an adopted daughter. So she always looked down on me, rejecting me again and again, trampling on my pride every time. She looked at me bitterly but didn't dare step forward. Only after Laura and I held hands and walked upstairs did Chloe finally move. Just then, Monica called her in a panic. Where did you go? Alex is missing again. He took a call from Luis and then disappeared. Luis must have forced him to leave us. Chloe frowned. He got a call from Luis. She had been standing there the whole time. She hadn't seen me touch my phone once. Monica huffed. Who else could it be? Alex said it himself. Luis called him. Hurry and help us find him. If we wait any longer, Alex might be in danger again. Chloe replied coldly, call the police. For the first time, she didn't rush to look for Alex. Instead, her mind replayed everything that had happened over the years. A terrifying suspicion began to form. Without a word, she called the police, and then went to the villa security room to check the surveillance footage herself. She reviewed every moment Alex had accused me of bullying him. In every single clip, The truth was the complete opposite. The more she watched, the colder her heart became. Suddenly, she clenched her fist and punched herself in the face. All these years, Alex had lived in the Koo household. Every time he claimed I had bullied him, the three of them forced me to apologize, never once questioning him. But now the truth was undeniable. He had jumped into the pool himself. He had broken his own leg on purpose. He had torn his clothes deliberately. He had thrown himself down the stairs. Lie after lie unraveled before her eyes. Chloe said nothing. She turned and walked out of the security room. She no longer had the courage to face me. The next time I saw Chloe was on the day of my wedding to Laura. Sitting in the car on the way to the ceremony, I happened to glance out the window and saw several familiar figures. The three of them were no longer as glamorous as before, though they still carried themselves with cold pride. Alex was clutching Chloe's hand, pleading desperately. When she ignored him, he turned to Zoe. Zoe didn't even look at him. Even Monica, who had once liked him the most, shoved him away in disgust. A trace of resentment flashed across Alex's eyes. He tried to act pitiful again. This time, none of them fell for it. At first, I didn't recognize them. Until Chloe looked up blankly in my direction. Our eyes met for a brief second. Then I knew. I calmly looked away and never turned back. After the engagement, my father offered the three of them a sum of money. They refused, insisting they would repay him for the years he had raised them. I only laughed. Over the years, the three of them had cost the Koo family tens of millions. Now that they had left the Koo household, how exactly did they plan to repay that? When the fireworks display, worth tens of millions, finally ended, Laura took my hand and walked down the red carpet beside me. Blessings and congratulations filled the air. Someone handed me a letter without a signature. The handwriting was familiar. I immediately knew who it was from. Without expression, I dropped the letter to the ground and let it be trampled underfoot. Laura kept smiling at me the entire time. When the ceremony ended, she placed a document in front of me. I willingly transfer all my assets to my husband. No regrets. No reservations. The crowd erupted in shock. Even I stared at her in disbelief. Laura only smiled gently. "Will you marry me?" I was so stunned I couldn't speak. In the end, she took my hand and signed my name on the document herself. I swear I will never hide anything from the man I choose to spend my life with. Everyone knew she meant every word. After our wedding, Laura devoted herself to physical therapy. Before long, her legs were completely healed, no different from anyone else's. I told her we could wait a few years before having children. But she broke through all my defenses and proved through action that we didn't need IVF at all. Within 3 years, we had 2 children, a boy and a girl, ending the Koo family's 18-generation pattern of single heirs. Later, my father told me that Chloe and the other 2 had failed in business overseas. They lost a large sum of money and eventually disappeared. Alex had been hit by a car and lost the use of his legs. Without money for treatment, he returned to the countryside and became a live-in son-in-law to a fierce wife. Now he was beaten daily and barely had enough to eat. Even while struggling to survive abroad, the 3 of them, Chloe included, still remembered to send me birthday gifts. I could tell they had put thought into them, but my expression stayed indifferent, completely untouched. My face remained cold every single time, utterly unmoved. It wasn't until I saw Laura walking toward me, our children by her side, that I finally let go of all that emotional baggage. Only then did I truly smile, because they were my happiness now.